We got strong bull run energy in the markets, especially this week. Got a few headlines for you in this episode, starting with Canary Capital filing for this spot HBAR ETF, as well as a story you may not have heard, but one of the oldest banks in the world, Societe Generale, is expanding its MiCA-compliant EU stablecoin to the XRP Ledger. And just because it's Friday, we're going to have a little fun. Apparently, Donald Trump is looking to create a federal blockchain voting system in collaboration with Cardano, Hyperledger, and Hedera. Now, this is coming from a pretty reputable source. I know this guy, Dennis Porter, not personally, but when I got into the space, he was just making his way into the space. He used to have a podcast, didn't necessarily work out. But a few months after that, I remember seeing him pop up again in the policy discussions around crypto. So the source of this information, at least to me, is credible, and we're going to break it down, guys. On top of that, all the research we've done in the past, we know about Hyperledger, we know about Hedera, and we also know about Cardano and the relationship all three of them have together. So let's get into these stories, man. And before we do that, let me introduce myself. I know it's a heap ton of new people to the channel and to the space. My name is Wade. You're listening to another edition of the DHN Crypto Podcast. I've been in the space since 2019 and researched over 1,000 digital assets. The only reason I run this show is to share that information with the people. All I ask in return is you hit that like button, but don't think of it as for me. Just do it for crypto, right? Or in this case, drop one down for the future of finance in general. I do think we are entering a crypto golden age, guys. Stories like this, never seen before. Canary Capital filing for first of its kind Hedera spot ETF with the SEC. So this was reported on Tuesday. They filed the S1 registration statement. The fund will, in quote, provide exposure to the value of the native asset of the Hedera network, according to the filing. So this caused quite a reaction in the space. I saw some analysts saying, I didn't even know what HBAR was. And I'm like, okay, that's your fault, not ours, right? But long story short, the fact that an ETF for HBAR is getting proposed by any company is going to do wonders for the recognition of Hedera, simply put. And Canary Capital themselves, I had to do a little digging, but I found out that this company is not necessarily too old. Formation was around January of 2024. And I found this out because I was looking at, one of their employees' LinkedIn pages. I'm not trying to be weird, but it does say right here, experience, Canary Capital, 2024 to present, 11 months. Line that information up with the information on Canary Capital's website. And yeah, we have a Tennessee-based company, U.S.-based company, proposing a spot ETF in relation to Hedera. This says a couple things. One, institutional investment entities, or those who can create these entities, are looking at Hedera. They're looking at HBAR. They're looking at altcoins in general, and apparently Hedera rose to the top. And then on top of that, this follows a story that came out last month. Canary Capital debuts U.S.'s first HBAR trust. And according to what's written here, this is supposed to be a direct route for U.S. funding to purchase HBAR. It says launch of Canary Capital's HBAR Trust is a first of its kind access point for U.S. institutions to acquire HBAR. It's coming from Greg Bale, Senior Vice President at the HBAR Foundation. Now, any RIAs or institutional capital in the U.S. that was previously sidelined, despite recognizing the industry-leading scalability and performance of the Hedera network, can today acquire the HBAR token. As the most used network by transaction count, Hedera is a prime example of the type of enterprise technology that sits at the intersection of crypto and real-world scalability. So they have a perspective on Hedera similar to the one that we have, because this statistic here, most used network by transaction count, that was something that was heavily debated on Twitter a few months ago. And it wasn't the main problem from Hedera holders' perspective was, okay, how come we know this information, but nobody else does? It's not being reported anywhere. You got major crypto analytics outlets like DeFi Llama that do not tell you this. So that caused independent firms like, it starts with an M. Man, I can't remember it right now, but they created a dashboard to show Hedera transactions. Metrica, that's the name of it. Metrica.io if you're interested. But at the end of the day, folks, an ETF for Hedera, like I said, is going to bring recognition. And I was looking into the S1 filing because I was curious about what's going to be the redemption model. Much like what we talked about when Bitcoin's ETF was going to launch, there was a decision that needed to be made whether or not transactions for the shares would be strictly done in Bitcoin or done with USD. Now, I'm still learning how this process works, the nuance elements to it, but based on this description, it says that you'll be using USD to buy baskets of HBAR. These baskets of HBAR will be equivalent to, let's just say, 100,000 HBAR, right? Whatever the market price of 100,000 HBAR is, that's how much money you need to put up to get the shares or to get the basket. When it comes to redeeming that basket, whatever the market value of those 100,000 HBARs are, that's what you get kicked back in the form of US dollars. The transactions will be managed by the trust. There isn't a custodian listed yet, but I'm assuming if they were able to establish a trust, then they're able to establish some sort of custodianship as well. Again, young company here, but the fact remains, this indicates that there are independent institutions in the world of finance who have been doing their research, because they could have easily have chosen to go with another Bitcoin ETF, another Ethereum ETF, or even a Solana. Why didn't they pick XRP? Those are genuine questions you need to ask, guys. Why you ask that, speak of the devil, let's talk about them. So, Societe Generale, one of the oldest banks in the world here, 160 years, they have a digital asset division. It's called Forge. And before we get into how long they've been around, we're going to focus on this story here, because after deploying on Ethereum and Solana, they'll be moving their MiCA-compliant stablecoin to the XRP Ledger. Coming out of Paris, November 14th, in accordance with the strategy of deployment on several blockchains, Societe Generale Forge announces intention to deploy its MiCA-compliant Euro CV on the XRP Ledger to increase adoption. The Euro CV will benefit from scalability, speed, low cost of the XRP Ledger, and a secure decentralized blockchain. Over the past decade, XRP Ledger has been home to 1,700 unique applications and exchanges, processing over 2.8 billion secured transactions since 2012. Again, they did their research. But the biggest thing about this story here is not only the fact that it's set to launch in 2025, but it falls under that MiCA umbrella here. And unlike with our last story where a custodian wasn't mentioned, Ripple Custody Solutions, formerly known as Medico, will be supporting custody for the Euro CV stablecoin. We've talked at length about the importance of stablecoins, and in our last episode, when we were talking about why you should hold both XRP and XLM, we really got to the core of what XRP is best at, and that's currency conversion. With a stable coin, the whole gig is to get US dollars into a digital form to be converted to other currencies. This is a perfect relationship. Now, mentioned in this press release, they obviously talk about, as it says here, Chief Revenue Officer from Societe Generale Forge. This is just the beginning. We look forward to further innovation and expanding the reach of our portfolio of digital solutions. When they say things like that, it implies that they want to do further work, further collaboration with the XRP Ledger. Well, if that's the case, guys, Societe Generale has a interesting gallery of products. Now, convertible, this is what the XRP Ledger will be incorporated into with the introduction of the Euro CV stablecoin. That's what the CV stands for. But they have another product here. It's called Smart Cash, right? Now, Smart Cash is connected to a program that is run by Societe Generale, the banking group themselves, called a debt issuance program. Yep, wrote it down. But this basically gives you access to corporate debt, bonds, and private placements. What the Smart Cash section does, and this is going to blow your mind, right? Smart Cash is a solution designed for money market investors as an alternative to certificates of deposits. The EMTNs are issued by SG Issuer, or SGIS, a member of SG Group Incorporated in Luxembourg. The notes are registered on public blockchains, Ethereum public, or a little known crypto project called Tezos. I used to tell people about this back in the day. Nobody believed me. Shocked to see that Tezos is still in this conversation. But by Societe Generale Forge, acting as a registrar on behalf of the issuer SGIS. These securities, in the form of tokens, are characterized as debt securities and financial instruments under MiFID II, and in that respect, benefit from the same legal framework and conditions than traditional securities. So they have a compliant security token platform that allows security tokens to be traded as of right now on Ethereum and Tezos. If they're looking forward to further collaboration with the XRP Ledger, you could bet. Okay, I was going to use an expletive, but this is YouTube. But you can bet that the XRP Ledger will be next here. It only makes sense. Obviously, nothing is confirmed here, but when I read the statement, I had to look around at your products and see what else could come from this. Because like I said, guys, Societe Generale, this is old money here. Old money. Okay? Very old money. So you add this to the notorious list of banking relationships that the XRP Ledger and Ripple have together. Man. And this is just the start of the bull run. This is just the start of the bull run. It almost feels as though these companies wait until market conditions are so much better to start unveiling their best relationships. Because I know a lot of this stuff, by the time we get it, guys, they have already been in experimentation phases. They've tested things for several months. When we get the PR, these guys have already sat down and figured out how the product is going to be to level 2. And they're just telling us about level 1. That's what I'm getting at here. So with that, guys, big news for Hedera, big news for the XRP Ledger. So let's jump into this story here. Trump and Doge, which is the Department of Government Efficiency, not Dogecoin, but they swear it is, right? Federal blockchain voting system with Cardano, Hyperledger, and Hedera. So crypto news flash, I'm going to tell you right now, they sometimes like to stretch things. So I had to read this story very carefully. But as everyone is aware, Donald Trump's re-election into the presidency is reported to have started impacting the overall fundamentals of the crypto industry, as rumors suggest that he could implement a federal blockchain-based election voting and identity verification system. According to crypto influencer Sean, this groundbreaking development will be executed in partnership with 4 key platforms: Cardano, Hedera, and Hyperledger. Meanwhile, rumors established that Trump is extensively exploring this move with the upcoming Department of Government Efficiency. Analyzing this post from Mr. Sean here, we discovered that the potential deployment would come with legislation that will require all states to implement the e-vote platform. The idea behind this development is reported to be the promotion of election integrity and elimination of fraud in subsequent U.S. elections. Key thing here: election integrity and elimination of fraud. All right. There's a couple other terms that would describe that same thing that's going to pop up in just a second. So I'm looking at Sean's post and I'm like, okay, Sean, you clearly, you verified on X. You've clearly been in the space for a little bit. It was the last sentence here. Hedera has already been recognized by the State Department and White House for their commitment to advance democracy. Now, I chuckled when I read that because I thought I was the only one that remembered that story. Y'all remember that story? Oh, let me pull it back up. So, if you're new, back in March of last year, private sector commitments to advance democracy. This was a little coalition of tech companies. It's listed here. Let me see here. The call focus on 4 areas to align. Nope, they had these organizations by name. I believe it's on this page here. The Cyber Tech Accord. Yes, Cyber Tech Accord. Those are group of companies, tech companies, that will contribute their resources to this initiative. And this initiative is, as it describes, private sector commitments to advance democracy through the guise of technology. And where Hedera came up into the discussion lies right just here. He had to really work for it. Hedera, convening democracy roundtable on how blockchain technology support human rights, transparency, and sustainability. Hedera commits to convening a democracy roundtable on how blockchain technologies can and are supporting human rights, transparency, and stability. Current democracy-related applications of blockchain include government systems, accountability, fighting misinformation, reducing data manipulation, and tracking financial flows. Hedera will invite companies, trade associations, advocacy groups, academics, and government officials to publicly share a summary of discussion and make recommendations for the next steps. So this is placing Hedera in very nice company within the United States government, right? And a lot of people truly overlook this story, that they were involved with the State Department here. And again, this is the Cyber Tech Accord, the signatories for that roundtable private sector commitment to advance democracy. No crypto names will be listed here. But what you'll see are very recognizable brands from the tech space. And like I said, this is a collaborative effort where these entities will be contributing their resources as part of the discussion from these other bodies to create whatever these next steps are going to be. So with that context, right? When you look at it that way, especially the election integrity and elimination of fraud lines up with human rights. Voting is a human right. Elimination of fraud, transparency. We already know he had that issue a few years ago. You know, he raised the issue a few years ago of the voting issues. Now, when it comes to Cardano and the Hyperledger, I do know this. Charles has made the news this week as well that he's going to be speaking directly with the government to talk about crypto policies. So that makes this story even more compelling, right? But to put the icing on the cake, here's why it would make even more sense. Because a few months ago, DREC Alliance was formed. And you can see who the founding members are. Cardano and Input Output, which is where Charles Hoskin spends the majority of his time. Input Output contributes to the development of Cardano for sure. But that would be the public-facing arm. Right? And then Hedera is there as well. They also mention in the headline, Hyperledger. Well, see, thing is, it's not called Hyperledger anymore. It is now called the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. And as you can see here, it's scrolling past, but big names, Hedera, Hitachi, IBM, Casper Labs, Chainlink Labs, Cheesecake Labs, Intersect, Citigroup, Consensus, Polygon. So if he does decide to tap into these resources, what we're looking at here is the beginning of the altcoin bull cycle. It will run just as hard as Bitcoin. All right. Now, I may be exaggerating just a little bit here, but when you tap into the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust, all of the time that they've been in the crypto space, this is where the altcoins, the DLT projects, this is where they found their home. This is where they found their support. So you can guarantee that once the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust starts to get recognized on a government level, it will benefit all of the assets that have been associated with it since it was called the Hyperledger Foundation. And don't get it wrong. they're still making use of Hyperledger Fabric technologies like Besu. There's another one called, oh man, I need to bring this up. I'm not going to let this episode end without showing you these Hyperledger, Besu, Fabric. There's a heap ton of them, guys. The number one being used is this Besu whenever you look into CBDCs. But I promise you, it is truly deep. And if he taps into the Linux decentralized trust, it's going to electrify a lot of different assets. So with that on top of the ETFs, guys, it's this space is getting wild. But I do got one more for you. All right, Stellar's on the thumbnail. Couldn't forget about him. So, securing 1.7 trillion. Another report from Crypto News Flash. Now, the top of this talks about the relationship with Franklin Templeton. I know Franklin Templeton recently made the news by extending the same product that they launched on Stellar to a few other chains. I'm okay with that. But it's the second part of this story that really just caught me off guard here. So apparently, Jed McCaleb in 2022 founded an independent space company called Vast. And last year, he partnered with Elon. Vast is partnering with SpaceX to be the first private company to launch and operate a fully commercial station in orbit. They planning on launching their first piece of this next year, next August, as a matter of fact. Didn't SpaceX go up to space like 4 times this year? I remember seeing it on YouTube several times. But what this article is alluding to is the potential of stellar lumens being a currency involved in that whole orbit. Right? So I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh, well, it would make some sense. And then again, would he need to? That brings up a discussion that is probably so far beyond us. But I felt like it's Friday, and I'm going to put this at the end of the episode because it might make a few people laugh. And then at the end of the day, that's all I really want to do. But the world that they're painting here, let me just go down to it, right? Okay. SpaceX collaboration loading. Recently, developments surrounding the Stellar network have garnered much attention due to its association with Jed McCaleb, pioneer in the blockchain space and CTO of Stellar. McCaleb was also one of the co-founders of Ripple, besides being now the CEO of Vast, a company specializing in space technologies. McCaleb's relationship with Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, has sparked speculation about a possible partnership between Stellar, Vast, and SpaceX. This potential collaboration has excited the crypto community, especially Stellar supporters. They expect the partnership to come true, given Musk's vision to integrate payment systems into the X platform. So, for context, Musk has previously expressed his ambition to unite half the global financial system under one payment network. While some in the industry advocate for XRP's integration, Musk's plans, McCaleb's connection, and to both Stellar and space technologies, it is noteworthy. And another thing here, based on our understanding that we got from the episode on Wednesday, XRP XLM, XRP wouldn't be the best choice for X because it's not currency conversion that you're looking to do. You're looking to give people access. I'm going to leave y'all with that. With that, ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to thank you for joining the show, man. It's been a wild week. Before we get out of here, I must urge you got to pick up your starter kit because clearly things are getting out of hand. DHN Crypto Starter Kit, you can pick it up in the description. It's totally free. To give you the 5 verticals of crypto. These are basically the different sections of the crypto space to help you understand what's coming out of it. You also got your evaluation criteria. If the asset you're looking into doesn't have good social media activity, good network activity, or good marketability, they for surely ain't going nowhere. Even in a bull run, they'll pump a little bit, but you can bet whoever's running that project is getting ready to dump on you. That is why the last criteria, utilitarianism, is so important. If they don't show in the beginning what their mission is, what the problem is that they're looking to solve, don't even pay them no attention. And to reinforce that, I provide you with links to various crypto ecosystems that are doing those things. and some of them that are not. This is to give you the best idea of this crypto space, because it's going to get out of hand. I genuinely feel like this is going to be the craziest bull run we've ever seen, because we just came out of the longest bear market on record. It would only make sense that we enter the longest bull cycle that will set a record, at least for the next decade. So with that, y'all know what time it is. If that money is digital, so is the hustle.